Checo finally gets his elusive first victory, but that's not even the biggest storyline coming out of Bahrain. Georgie, a star is born. Let's jump the start.
Gentlemen, welcome back. Jump to Start F1 podcast. What a freaking race, guys. My name is Wellington. I'm here with two of my closest friends. Ruben, hi.
What's going on, guys?
Yancy, hello.
No.
What the heck was that?
That's how Carlos Sainz says hi and bye.
In his language, that's high and by, right?
Wow.
In the
No.
in his gibberish.
Oh my God. Guys, before we jump into it, I just want to make sure you guys obviously hit us up on the socials at Jump to Start F1 on Twitter and Instagram. Jump to Start racing@gmail.com if you want to send us an email. And obviously, we're on YouTube, Jump to Start Racing Podcast, and we are on all podcast platforms, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Google Podcasts.
I'm not even looking at you, bro.
Sorry.
Yeah, we need to restart that.
Sorry. All right. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, TuneIn, and iHeartRadio.
Boom.
Guys, please hit us up. We've had a lot of fun on socials. Let's jump right into it because it's going to be a long one. Let's talk first about news leading into the race. That kind of sets the stage for the race, right?
The 1 week we don't do a
preview podcast.
dedicated preview podcast. The damn breaks.
Yeah.
It wasn't the floodgates.
What was it?
Oh,
Monday
my
morning,
Lord.
we're all greeted as we wake up. Lewis Hamilton diagnosed with COVID, obviously sets up missing the race. It is the second F1 driver this season, obviously the COVID season, that is affected with obviously Checo Perez missing.
No, third.
It's the third. You're right.
Because Lance
Stroll.
Stroll.
Lance Stroll hit it. That's why I missed it.
Mhm.
But he's the third driver. Obviously, we wish him a speedy recovery. The only news we had gotten from or about him was from Toto Wolff saying, "Oh, he's not doing all that well." So obviously,
Well, today they said he's on the right track. We'll talk about it later, but we don't still yet to know if he will be able to make it to the next race. Not because he's sick, it's just because of the protocols that F1 has to take just to get into Abu Dhabi.
actually, you're right. Yeah. Also, Lewis, you're good. We'll see you next year.
He'll be
Please
fine.
Yeah, go home.
go home. Stay home. Stay safe.
That
Be good.
piece of news literally was just like turning over the one domino on the domino set, and then just everything just started going crazy. I mean, aside from the fact that we had that huge accident with Romain Grosjean,
Yeah.
it was just, news story after news story, and I'm like, what is going on? It was a crazy week, yeah.
So from there, obviously the rumors start flying. Who's going to replace Lewis in the Mercedes car? Some say the best Formula One car ever made. The best car on the
Definitely
track.
the fastest F1 car ever made.
Yep.
Yeah.
So who was going to replace him? Stoffel Van Dorn was the designated Mercedes reserve driver. He had the super license. Obviously, Esteban Gutierrez is the other one. He does not have a super license. Correct me if I'm wrong.
He does not.
But then out of nowhere, from the left side with a chair, George Russell started to become rumored to obviously he's a Mercedes development driver on loan, you would say, to the Williams team. And turns out that rumor, they struck some type of deal, Mercedes and Williams, and George Russell is the one that ends up in Lewis Hamilton's
Mercedes
seat.
RKO'd everyone.
So what did you do with that chair?
He hit him. I don't know.
Who did he smack up the head?
Came over.
Van Dorn?
Van Dorn, yeah. He's gone. That's it.
I think Russell hit me.
Oh, man. Wow.
You imagine F1 drivers in a WWE ring? Bam! Give me the car.
Wow. So You guys could obviously stop me, interject whenever you want, but George Russell's in the Mercedes seat. Obviously, everybody is pumped because now he gets a shot at being in a top car with an actual chance to finish, not just in the points, but on the podium and potentially win a race.
Well, George Russell is considered to be same talent level as maybe a Max Verstappen and a Leclerc, being a young driver. Obviously, Verstappen's been in the paddock or on the grid a lot longer than these two guys, but they're considered same talent level. He's highly rated, F2 champion. Everybody wanted to see if he got a chance with the top team, can he do the same thing that Verstappen and Leclerc have done and run at the top with the big boys? He certainly proved it this weekend that he can.
I think for Russell was just, for example, to get a chance like he got to show it, because he's been showing he's good with the Williams, just by at least being in 12 or whatever, in qualifying and stuff like that.
Well, and beating his teammate every single race.
He didn't do it this weekend.
37-0 at this point. Yeah.
He's like the new Mayweather, 37-0. Knocking everybody out.
But yeah, I mean, we got to see it, and I think he lived up to the hype, man.
I can't comment too much on it. It's just I still feel gutted for him. Like,
yeah, the number one Williams fan, Ruben.
Yes,
obviously.
Yeah, man.
This kid. Wow,
so
man.
Thoroughly impressed.
Yeah, before we still, but there's still so much even more of a carousel to go around. This is just a morsel, yeah. So then from there, to replace George Russell, everyone's favorite Twitter follow at Jack Aitken, or I'm sorry, at J Aitken Racer. Jack Aitken, I can't even say the name. At Jack Aitken jumps in, the Williams reserve driver jumps into George Russell's seat.
Another.
Well, that was a good move by them, though.
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
That was like, what goes on.
But this is another, I'll call it a kid that's good, that just needs a shot.
Going forward, obviously this race, you had two new drivers on the grid, being Pietro Fittipaldi with Haas, replacing Romain Grosjean, and you had Jack Aitken. So you have a new generation that always felt that they deserved at least a shot. They got their shot in F1, and people get to see them how they handle F1 machinery. Second, you see George Russell going onto a top team, like we said, and just get with all, as crazy as it is, has no time to prepare. He said
he had time. He prepared a PowerPoint. So he had prepared his presentation.
He goes in and he says that it was like fitting into a bathtub. Imagine driving a bathtub that goes 200 miles an hour around the track.
He's taller than Lewis too, so
he's a lot taller than Lewis.
So it was very uncomfortable.
He's a lot taller than Lewis. His feet are obviously bigger than Lewis, whatever that means.
Oh my
god. But yeah, man, it and then this almost oval, which I can't wait to start talking about it, because it was actually it was a better race than we thought it would be.
Absolutely.
And there's reasons for that, and I'll go over that later, because I'm a fan of IndyCar and I watch a lot of oval racing, and I've become oval racing is an acquired taste, and I've become a fan of oval racing just because of the races that it throws up, and this had elements of that.
So, I mean, the three of us, obviously, we talk about it separately offline, but like I was like, oh, it's time. And I'm like, oh, yeah, it's time for Jack Aitken. Forget about Russell. But then the other move was Pietro Fittipaldi filling in for Romain Grosjean, who still obviously trying to overcome his injuries. He missed this past weekend. He'll miss Abu Dhabi. Unfortunately, pretty much the end of his career. There was a Sky Sports interview with Romain Grosjean. If you guys have not watched it, watch it. I'll make sure to link it in the show notes. Very sentimental, very touching, where he's describing, he named the fire, he named it Bernois. He
Benoit, yeah.
he was looking to see, how often he had to try 3 times to get out of the car, and how he finally was
In a
just
matter
like,
of seconds, brother.
Yeah.
It's just
within 30
amazing
seconds.
that it was the clip that was circulating. Obviously, I didn't see the entire interview. I saw the clip that was circulating. It was about 8 minutes, and even watching that was enough. Just the way he described that whole ordeal, it was so vivid within his mind because he remembered everything, and
Everything that went through his head.
everything that went through his head, and it's 27 seconds. We don't even remember what happened the last 27 seconds, and it was so vivid the way he described it. It's insane in detail,
Yeah.
and we're talking about an event where he almost lost his life. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, you said it was 8 minutes, right? So he was able to describe 27 seconds in 8 minutes. That's how much your body, the adrenaline kicks in, and then just everything. It's like bullet time, right?
Yeah, and then just all the thoughts that go into his head, him trying to get out, just the fact that he was able even to, thought about his family and his kids, and that was what he needed. That thought was what he needed to just try to get out of that situation, and spring out. And it was pretty insane because so many things could have gone wrong there. And he even said, when he went into that barrier, I saw the pictures. It was tilted, so he couldn't just it wasn't like he just got up straight up off the car. He had to kind of twist himself out of. How do you do that? All of that going on, dude is a hero. That was insane, and just for him to describe it for us, so we can get a sense of what he goes through, what he went through at that moment. Pretty powerful stuff, man. Pretty powerful stuff.
Yeah, I will never forget watching that race, us 3 together. Yancey stands up as the fireball comes up, and in my head, I'm thinking this guy's gonna be fine, right? He's gonna be fine. He's gonna be not even knowing who it is.
Yeah.
When I saw the fire, I'm like, that's serious. That's not normal because you haven't seen something like that since maybe the 80s, and that was rare. In that, where it was very prevalent. I said in the last podcast, that was super prevalent during the 70s when those cars would blow up. So it was a shock to all of us, especially our newer generation, because we're not used to seeing that. In any racing series, we're not used to seeing that. And obviously, there's going to be a thorough investigation of why that car went up in flames. And I'm pretty sure that they'll get on top of that. But yeah, man, that, coming into that race, coming out of that race was pretty somber because, it's tough to see that. And I'm just glad that he got out okay.
Absolutely.
That's the best thing, that he got out okay. He's able to tell the story of what happened, and we are actually enjoying it, and get some sense of sentiment from him, especially saying it. I know. I think seeing him with the little wraps in his hand and all that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, he had a chance to race this upcoming weekend, but his hands weren't going to be fully healed.
So no.
So obviously, I mentioned last weekend that it could be possible that he wouldn't even want to race again. Obviously, because something like that happens, very traumatic. But he's a racing driver, and he's thinking about his future. Just by him saying that, his hands are not going to be fully healed, he doesn't want to risk further injury to his hand, means that he's thinking about he wants to have. He even mentioned that he wants to have, to close out his F1 career, he wants to have a separate test. Mercedes Toto Wolff even offered it. If nobody else,
imagine?
No.
Yeah, if nobody else, within the teams that he's in, he's obviously with Renault and Lotus and Haas. If they don't give him that opportunity, obviously there's cost involved. Toto Wolff offered that they would give him a test just so he can, end off on the right note, and then he can go off and do whatever.
Stand-up guy, that Toto Wolff.
Yeah.
We'll hear about that later.
Wow. Yeah.
Wow.
Any closing thought? All right, so Lewis Hamilton out due to COVID. George Russell in the Mercedes seat. Jack Aitken. Why do I keep screwing that up? Jack Aitken in the Williams seat. And Pietro Fittipaldi in Romain Grosjean's Haas. I'm just nervous.
First American to race for Haas.
First American-born driver to race for Haas. Yes. Everybody thinks Fittipaldi. They think,
But isn't he
No,
Brazilian?
he's from his family's
His
Brazilian. But he was born in the
he
U.S.
was born in the U.S.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know that. But he does fly he flies under the Brazilian flag though.
Well, I'm glad we saw him in a seat. Obviously, I do enjoy him also being a commentator when he does. With,
after the races with Buxton, and
He raced an IndyCar also.
yeah, he did.
Yeah, but he had a I think well
And
he was racing an IndyCar. He's gonna do actually a pretty good amount of races, but then he had that accident, and I think it was in Spa, with WEC, and he broke his leg, and he was out for a while. So
didn't know that.
Yeah,
and he's also like the first family that grandfather, father, and son race in Formula
Nice.
1.
I think they have a total of like 5 or 6 people in
Family
that
members.
family that
Wow.
have raced in F1.
even like the son-in-law of older Fittipaldi.
Yeah, Emerson Fittipaldi.
Emerson, yeah,
Two-time
sorry, I
champ.
blanked on the name there. But so, any other closing thoughts? Obviously, Stoffel Van Dorn got kind of screwed there.
I know you were upset about that.
I was, my boy.
But he was in the paddock. He was with.
He was
with the
ready.
team.
Louis
just didn't get to see.
Delatrez. What happened there? He was supposed to be next in line for Haas, but whatever. All right. Well, whatever.
Maybe super license status kind of thing too. Who knows? There's also details. There's a lot. It's also this that are not
That we don't
brought to
know
light
about,
right away. Yeah. So with I know Bandona maybe because he was there just to test the Formula E car. He was not there to race a Formula
I think
1.
that being that Russell is a Mercedes driver, and obviously you have your 2 drivers that are set.
And the
your,
reserves.
Your main driver is Lewis Hamilton, and nobody's going to take him away from that car, especially if he's not in that top form. Bottas Bottas is what it is, but he's driving very well. You're not going to get an opportunity unless it's in a real race situation. You're not going to get an opportunity to put George Russell, which is supposed to be basically
Your development driver,
basically
I guess.
the heir to Lewis's throne at Mercedes. It's very tough to get him into that car, especially if he's driving for another team. Toto Wolff.
I think a lot of chips had to fall in place
Oh, yeah.
for it to happen.
Toto Wolff is you got to admire this guy as the years go on, because this guy seems to pull off moves within that paddock that nobody else has the wherewithal to do it.
Yeah.
And he manages to not to do it, but do it with grace and respectability.
He would have been a great CEO.
Yeah, he managed to do that. He I think George Russell said he got a total of like 64 calls within a span of a few hours just to get everything written down, and contract and everything.
Wow.
Yeah, but Toto Wolff pulled it off, got him in the car, and thank you, Toto. That was
awesome.
That was awesome.
But that's why you see guys like Russell, Ocon, everybody orbit the Toto Wolff empire, I guess.
Yeah, and there was a little bit of doubt, obviously, because we haven't been able to see Russell in a good car as to if he's really that good as much as he's hyped up to be. And we
What do you think,
saw.
Let's get to it, guys.
Yeah.
Race weekend review. Gentlemen, a short look back to the past. Oh, God. All right. So, look, the practices. We were all hype. Everybody was hype. The Twitter world was hype. George Russell, fastest in FP1 and FP2. Unfortunately, he fell in FP3 in qualifying. He was. Is there anything else to talk about with practices? No, right? Like, just
no, it was just adding to the hype, man.
Yeah.
And the practices were like when you see when you have a fight night and you have the build-ups, the press conferences. That's what practices were. It was like, all right, this is gonna be good. This is gonna be good. And it was a fight between. Obviously, the midfield we know was going to be super close.
That's the what is it? The undercard.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Undercard.
Yeah, but we wanted to see what young George could do. Young Georgie could do against Bottas.
Absolutely,
the seasoned veteran at Mercedes.
Man, what an awesome weekend of racing! But qualifying. I actually pulled up the wrong qualifying, but for qualifying itself, it ended up with it was kind of tight, but Bottas, not kind of tight, but it was definitely tight. Bottas ended up on pole with George Russell behind him by 0.026 of a second, 26 thousandths of a second. Max
I'm glad you
Verstappen.
said that because I can't.
Milliseconds, huh?
No, thousands.
Thousandths.
It's
of
not
a second.
milliseconds?
Yes, that's exactly
Is
right.
it? Is
Yeah,
it?
milliseconds.
Okay. Yeah, damn it. I
My
didn't pay
bad.
attention in algebra.
Not to be left behind too far, Max Verstappen was actually 300ths of a second, so 30 milliseconds. So that's how tight. That's what happens when you have such a short, quick lap. That these times there's just
Yeah.
not much of a differentiation. And fourth place in qualifying
Charlie!
with a bomb.
Wow.
lap. What a lap!
What a lap by
That
Charles.
was like homo wheel. I'm done.
Yo. He, and even more impressive that he had that just one run on a very abrasive track on a soft tire, and he said he got that lap done. He said that was a good lap. Wow.
He's like, whoa,
he
guys.
he impressed himself.
Yeah.
He impressed himself. I was not expecting that. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
He came out of nowhere.
Really did, because at that point, Max had just set the fastest lap. I think the Mercs were on old tires, so they weren't really up there. And then he came in and got second. I'm like, wow. But then obviously the two Mercs had to
Lay down the law.
You know, they put new tires on and just said, yeah, okay.
Well, he didn't do another run because he was out of tires.
He was out of tires, yeah. So he already knew that he just needed to do that one run. That's all he had. That's all he had left, because obviously it's an abrasive track. You do these fast laps and it wears your tire out. He just needed one run and that's it.
I also think that even though he didn't have no more tires, but when all the teams pretty much, at least the top guys, went at it again, like at one last lap, nobody improved the time. The midfield probably did, but the top guys did not improve the time in the last lap they did.
Tell you what,
so it would have not benefit him anyway.
It goes to show you. I mean, the pressure's on. You have a set of tires that you know are only going to last you that one lap, that one fast lap. It's going to last you an out lap, a fast lap, and an in lap. And when you nail it like that, that's
well, the max
performing.
grip. The tires do last longer than that, but just
no, I'm just saying,
just
max
the degradation.
grip,
You won't get the peak
degradation.
performance.
Yeah,
from
you're
it.
not. That's what I'm saying. And you'll see the times falling off for you to be under pressure and do that. That's Charlie did a good job, man. That was a great lap.
It just goes. He has been just consistently, just like during qualifying, just putting a car where it just doesn't even belong. Same with the race. I cannot wait to see. We talk about it all the time, but the future of F1 looks super freaking bright.
Yeah.
I don't want Lewis Hamilton to leave just yet. Sebastian Vettel, you can hang around a little bit.
No, they can
Kimi,
stay,
hang out.
but
they
get
are
these
holding
young
places
guys.
for these young guys.
Get these young guys a good car so we can see.
What
What
he's saying is like that some of these older guys are also holding back the young guys. Because there's no space for
it's
them.
more like these are the
Yes and no.
generation of champions that are still there.
Yes.
The old guard.
But you always want to see that. Though.
Absolutely.
You want to see
A mix of everything.
One of the matchups that we have been dying to see is Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen going wheel to wheel.
Absolutely.
See that. You want to see.
Absolutely.
We finally did get to see. Well, we saw Verstappen and Leclerc go at it before.
Oof.
But you want to
that was
see,
sexy.
and obviously you've seen Leclerc go up against it with Vettel.
Lando as well. Vettel, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just talking about like old guard versus new
okay,
guard.
okay.
We barely get to see that. So, and hopefully we can see that more. But you want to see that with the old guard, basically on the tail end of their careers. You got the new guys coming up. You always want to see that showdown. You want to see Michael Jordan versus
And Kobe.
Bryant.
Dude, that's exactly what I was thinking.
That's what you want to see. And then obviously you want to see them go against each other as the old guard moves away. So right now, the talent level in F1 is incredible.
It's out of control.
And if we can get some cars where they can compete with each other, at least race each other, man, this sport has no limit.
Honestly, that's why I was excited. It sucks, but thank you, Van Dorn, very much. But you're just not that guy. And then obviously we've seen the respect level.
Van Dorn.
Yeah. Waffle Van Dorn,
man.
We've seen the respect level
Another
between.
guy coming into Alonso.
Oh my God, yeah. We've seen the respect level between Max and Lewis Hamilton just continue to grow throughout the year. It just, you see it all the time after the races. Yo, great job, guy. Blah blah blah. Like almost had me. Anyway,
from qualifying to I saw earlier in the video, Carlos Sainz giving, I guess, thanks to George Russell for giving him a toe. I guess he's a nice guy.
That was actually really funny. Thank you for bringing that up. That he is just so not used to the position, or I guess being a nice guy, that being ahead of people, he was just
earlier on an earlier lap. He had gotten a toe from Sainz, not done
intentionally.
Yeah, intentionally. So he got a toe from Sainz earlier. Then he gave Sainz the toe, but it was nothing. I guess that was written. He goes, "Hey, I got this up for you earlier. You get it up for me now if you want." I guess he is a nice guy.
That was awesome.
No.
How would you translate that? Him being George Russell being a nice guy in the Carlos Sainz language.
So, all right. So qualifying, P4 Leclerc, we talked about. P5 Sergio Perez. P6 Daniel Kvyat. Man, this guy. You know what? It's gonna be a shame to see him go. This
weekend he killed it.
He's been driving like I don't know. There's just
he's not a consistent driver, man. That's what you need.
That seat is still open.
He's good, but he's not gonna be the next seat.
That seat is still open. Daniel Ricciardo, P7, man, disappointing, dude. P8 Carlos Sainz, P9 Pierre Gasly falling back down to earth, and P10 Lance Stroll. P11 Esteban Ocon, P12 Alex Albon. Just kind of putting it out there because it'll matter in a few moments. So qualifying was qualifying. It was actually pretty entertaining, I thought.
It was.
Was short laps, real close lap time.
Super fast.
I thought it was going to be a ton of traffic in Q1 because 20 cars on that short track, but it wasn't even an issue.
I thought it was going to be like another Monza.
From a couple years ago, right?
Yeah.
Or from last year.
Yeah. But nice. I think it was an effort by the drivers also not to get in each other's ways too. So.
Okay.
I feel like there was. Can I tell you that I felt like they all did such a good job of getting out of each other's way. Yeah. I don't know if there was like a meeting. Obviously, they do their drivers meeting, but I don't know if they communicated beforehand how they're gonna approach it. But I felt like there was nobody impeding. You didn't hear the cries over there. What the heck is going on?
Or maybe the race director made him aware, saying, "Hey guys,
maybe
we will be looking heavily into this."
I think it was within them too. Because it doesn't benefit anybody for you to hold anybody back. It just doesn't make any sense. Everybody get their laps in, and you qualify where you qualify. May the best man win. But this underhandedness. I mean, and I don't think there was any underhandedness when that happened in Monza. It's just you're aware that this can't happen. Now they have it in their head. And I think they did a really good job as far as letting the cars that have to go through on their fast laps or not getting anybody's way and just make sure that everybody has enough time to get their laps in. It was, it
was pretty clean.
Show of respect for each other.
For the small track,
concerned.
Qualifying was clean.
So the race itself, we went through the qualifying setup. So at the start of the race, remember that Russell qualified second to Bottas' first. Obviously, what do we know about Bottas?
He's horrible at the starts.
Horrible at the start.
He needs to spend the offseason just doing starts. That's it.
But how can you can't even use the car.
I don't care. Like, put him blinded or something in a simulator. And I don't know, like do it a horse, or the horse version with a bell, and the bells, they touch him in the back, and then they take away the touch, just the bell.
I don't get how he was P1 on the good side of the track, on the one which was the left side of the track.
Yeah, the left side of the track,
which is most rubbered in. How do you get a bad start? How does that happen? And it wasn't even like just a bad start. It was a horrible start.
So much so.
Let's say maybe his tires got too cold. I don't know.
so that's what me and Ruben were talking about. He had such a bad. Well, obviously Russell passes him on the inside, literally going into turn one. It was ridiculous. But Bottas on the medium tires, lined up first on the grid, had Perez and Verstappen behind him and Leclerc behind them on softs. So it's like, okay, obviously into Q1, into turn one, it should not make that much of a difference. But we saw Bottas continue to fall back after turn one. After turn two, he almost lost control after turn two, pushing Verstappen and Perez further back.
I'm just starting to believe that if you put Bottas under pressure, he just folds.
Humpty Dumpty.
Can we give Max some credit though?
Max, Perez?
No, just Max. Max first. Because he did not, the monster was not out yet. He
backed off.
Yeah, he backed off super early on that turn.
It cost him.
It cost him dearly.
Yeah.
He wanted to avoid the carnage.
But
he saw the carnage happening, I think, before anything.
But it was gonna, like, if they, that would have been a disaster. They would have went 3 wide in that turn, especially with Leclerc going up on the inside.
That's turn 4.
That's turn 4.
Turn 4.
No. I'm thinking to myself, that's turn 4, right? So.
Turn 4 was when all that happened.
Yes.
Okay, sorry,
so turn.
I'm getting ahead of myself.
So turn 4. We heard Sebastian Vettel last week say over the radio, man, this guy, he keeps doing the same thing. We didn't even know what he was talking about, to be 100%
at the same time.
At the time.
Mm-hmm.
Not at the same turn, huh?
And at the same turn, yeah. Was it the same turn? I don't know, because it's a different layout. But regardless, Charles Leclerc last week sent it up the inside of the track, but was able to back out of a turn before hitting Vettel, or Vettel gave him enough space. This time, circumstances were a little different. Leclerc sends it up the inside of the track to try and just aggressively get it in there. Ends up hitting Sergio Perez, who was ahead. At best, I'm going to be very kind because I'll say at best, Leclerc pulled even with him at the turn. But, with track position, Perez turned in short and got essentially blasted off of the racing line by Leclerc, who damaged his front left suspension.
Yeah, it broke the suspension.
And as a result of the whole thing, with Verstappen trying to avoid the carnage, goes off the track onto the gravel and then just slides into the wall, ending his race too.
Verstappen thought that wasn't
gravel.
He thought it was
runoff
tarmac. Because it was gray. The gravel was gray. So it looked like it was like a tarmac, like he would keep the grip, and he went into it, and then the car just kept going straight into the wall. And Leclerc, I mean, he needs to fix that. That's 3 times I think he's done it already. First time he hit Vettel. He hit Vettel in Austria. He almost hit him again last race. And this time he guessed wrong. He thought that Checo was going to stay on the outside because he had, who was the other car that was right next to him?
Max Verstappen.
It was Verstappen. He didn't think that Checo was going to turn in. And that's the normal racing line. I thought, when I first saw it, I thought it was Checo's fault. But the normal racing line...
It's never Charles. In Hans's world.
But the racing line is, wide, going, hitting that apex. And he was clearly ahead. Leclerc guessed wrong, and he hit him. And it was clearly his fault. He admitted it after the race, too.
He even went to Checo Perez trailer or whatever to
Yeah. Well, Checo wasn't too mad.
After that incident, Russell was just out.
Dude, after turn 1, I thought that this was going to be similar to Lewis Hamilton, just disappearing into the distance. And
I thought it was, when that happened, I thought it was going to be as we thought the race was going to pan out, where these cars just get out ahead and nobody can catch up to them.
So what was it? A virtual safety car right at the start, right? It was virtual, not full.
It was full safety.
It was a full safety car. And the restart. Actually, you're right. And then the restart, George Russell did it well again, and he was just
took off again.
Off to the quote unquote races, no pun intended. And from there, he pretty much controlled the race. And I don't know what further to say there until the. Is there anything to talk about in the middle here until the Mercedes screw up? Well, we'll get to that.
I think that's when the race started to come down.
Yeah.
Meaning that's when like, okay, so now the action stops. Let me go get a drink. Let me get another slice of pizza because nothing's happening right now. Yeah, that's what happens.
No, yeah, but it wasn't. There was more action probably in the midfield than there was
but
in the front.
We love that, but it's not getting that much coverage at the time when you're
we'll
watching.
get to the
But
midfield.
but I was just focusing. I was focusing on Russell. I'm like, yeah, go Georgie, let's do this. Because you always like to see that fairy tale of a young kid coming up and just bossing it. And that's exactly what he was doing up until that point.
So what happens? Jack Aitken loses control. I think it was like lap 62. Loses control, smashes.
No, you
that's
skip,
later.
You skip
Latifi.
You skip Latifi.
VSC.
The virtual safety car Latifi that killed Sainz and Ricciardo's lap and race pretty much.
Yeah, because everybody started trying to pit.
Yeah, because there was a virtual safety car for Latifi. I think it lasted maybe like about 2-3 laps. Yeah. And that's at the ending of that safety car, Sainz, pretty much before them, a lot of people already pitted, like just to cycle them through. And then at the time that Sainz and Ricciardo come in, that's when the virtual safety car ends. Right at that moment we're coming in.
It kind of happened. It's like what happened with Lewis.
Yes.
That virtual safety car was just enough time for Lewis to come in and nobody else.
Right. So that was Sainz and Ricciardo that got killed. That was lap 28. Gasly also pitted. They went on to mediums, but at that point, the damage had been done because the virtual safety car ended just as they had pulled into
that dropped them so far back.
Yeah, that really...
And at that time, they were having a pretty good lap. A pretty good race.
Which is what happens in oval races. If you mistime your pit stop.
Bottas was third. I think at one point Sainz was fighting with him around that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
and later on in the race, he does that again. But at that moment,
Sainz was running third
on the restart, the original restart from the first safety car.
Yes. Yeah, Sainz was running third, and but he came in and it was
that virtual safety car would have
he was in the pit. The virtual safety car ended.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That virtual safety car would have helped Ricciardo's and Sainz race so much if it would have been able to pan out. But it's just it's part of racing.
Yeah, it's
over here pissed because he missed that one.
No. I'm pissed because it would have made a much more interesting race than what we got.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I said this before. This when it comes. How's that soda, bro?
Forgot the that's something missing.
So, but oval racing. And this is what I saw just this race. When it comes to oval racing, obviously safety cars, or in F1 case, virtual safety cars and pit stops, when you make your pit stops, are crucially important. Because if, let's say you come into the pit too late, you're losing the lap is like 55 seconds, 54 seconds. The pit stop is 23 seconds.
You're losing half a lap.
You're losing almost half a lap. So if you mistime your pit stop or something goes wrong in the pit stop, your race is over.
Look at what happened with Perez.
Yeah.
Well,
Perez because of the first safety car, Perez had to pit, change his tires. They saw the car was good, came back, he didn't pit again.
But if you time it correctly,
I'm saying
it could just catapult you up.
Then every incident afterwards benefited him.
Yeah. Right.
Because he just kept, all the climb-ups.
He
just kept on climbing.
Everybody was pitting around him.
Everybody started cycling around him.
Going.
Okay.
And you can gain a ton of track position that way because the lap is so short.
He gained, 16, 17?
This had the elements of oval racing, which is cool.
It was not an oval.
It's not, but it had the elements just because of the short lap and the amount of time that you can lose in a pit stop.
It was a Pokemon.
Carlos Sainz was third. When he pitted, he came out ninth. And then it was a battle to recover.
Yeah.
Then Ricciardo, then subsequently behind him, was third and came out 10th. And then for him, it was
and lost out also to Sainz.
Yeah. So it was a battle to recover from there. Then going forward, we get to the Mercedes screw up with the Jack Aitken incident.
That was a BSC, right? That was a virtual safety car.
Originally,
it was a VSC.
Yep.
And then it turned to a full safety
car. Then it turned into a full safety car with because they couldn't get enough time to be able to get the front wing off of the track safely for the marshals.
Because the track is so small.
Exactly. So, man, what a disaster.
They didn't have a gap.
Where a marshal could go and grab it.
Yeah, because if you're on a long, twisty track, or even, let's say, the original Bahrain layout, you have enough turns where the cars are held up where you can
And
get
there's
a
not a
marshal
gap.
in there and take it up, but you can't do that. in the
Not this
oval.
one. You will fly away.
That's why, let's say if you watch an IndyCar race, any little incident that happens, they're calling a safety car because they got to clean all that stuff up. Even if it's just like a car slowing down, they got to clean the oil up or anything like that.
Gotcha.
It's a safety car automatically. But those safety cars make the race interesting
Of course.
because depending on where people pit,
or if they decide to put in that safety car away for another one.
or wait for another one. I mean, in this case, pit lane doesn't close, but they close the pit lane. So in IndyCar, so this race had a lot of elements of like or IndyCar oval race, not a road track, but an oval race. And those are the type of things that you think about, and you gotta act quick.
So Bottas and Russell had originally built up almost a full pit stop lead. This safety car gets called, and Mercedes calls for a double stack, which they have done a bunch of times.
This year
They're
alone, they at
kings
least
of
done
that.
like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
They're kings of that. They're flawless in that.
This year alone, I think, right? They've done like 3 or 4 times. This year.
So what ends up happening? Russell comes in first. They fit him with tires. It takes some time. You see the front left wingman going, no, and like whatever. They release Russell. Bottas comes in and they just like refuse to put the tires on or like to
No,
tighten.
they put the tires on. Then
The Russell went out fine.
Yeah.
It just took a little longer. It was when Bottas came in that one of the front tires gunmen noticed. And he's going, but somebody
the
else.
tire says GR instead of VB.
Somebody else that is not part of like I guess the crew that jumps on the car, he notices too because he was making a bunch of signals when you're looking at the angle from out. But the front gunman is the one that's refusing. Like no, take it out. Like he just doing a bunch of, and that's when it became a cluster.
Yeah,
a complete disaster.
So what happened at there was that they put on the tires put on the new tires for Bottas, and they take them off and put on the old tires that he came into the pit with.
Mm-hmm.
So they got cold. And
the brakes were on fire because they weren't getting cooled down from the air. And it turns out that George Russell is in Valtteri Bottas's tires, and he had to come back and pit again, losing even more time.
So that was a 27-second pit stop.
Pit delta.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Bottas's pit stop.
Yeah. So imagine how much, not only time, but track position are you losing just on that stop if you mess it up? Which they did mess
They came
up.
out like in 5th, 6th, 5 or 6, both of them. And then obviously
but
Russell
they
came
had
back
like
in.
how long? How
yeah, but
how big of a
they
lead
lost.
did they have?
They lost the lead they had. Plus, they came out 5 spots behind.
Yeah, Bottas went from 2nd to 5th in that stop,
and then Russell had to stop again to get new tires because
which is a little rule I did not know about that. That if you get fitted with the wrong tires, then you have like 3 or 4 laps. 3 laps.
You had 3 laps to come back and
rectify
change
the
them.
issue.
If not, you're gonna get a penalty.
Exactly.
So Russell didn't lose time with the original pit stop, but he went from 1st down to 5th. Bottas overtook him when he was in the pit lane during that second pit stop.
Okay. So in the first pit stop, he came out ahead again.
Yes,
but because he had to stop again.
Well, Bottas was behind him in the double stack, but then they had such a lead that they had the pit delta covered. So what ends up happening? Bottas in 4th, Russell in 5th, and you have Perez.
Bottas with all hard tires.
Bottas with
old
cold hard tires. Oof. So at that point, when the dust kind of finally settles, it's Perez in 1st. Who, dude, I don't know how he did that. Perez in 1st, Ocon in 2nd, Lance Stroll in 3rd. Did I miss something? No.
Was that at that point that Perez?
Yes.
Yeah. Because at that point he had already overtaken Ocon as well.
Mm-hmm.
Perez in 1st, Ocon in 2nd, Lance Stroll in 3rd, and then Bottas in 4th, Russell in 5th. What a freaking disaster that turned out to be. Carlos Sainz in 6th, Ricciardo in 7th. And that's kind of how things that's not how things played out because
Georgie said, "Don't worry, I got this."
Well, yeah, he was pissed off, and the Mercedes team, Bono being Bono,
because you got to remember also what happens that some of these teams they see you pit, and obviously you came out of the pits trouble, but they Carlos Sainz especially when he started complaining about Bottas being so slow. He doesn't know that Bottas tires are old.
Or old, yeah.
No, yeah.
Nobody knows.
But
that.
he was holding up the entire
Exactly.
field.
But they don't know why. They're wondering,
No, yeah.
why is the Mercedes so slow?
Yeah.
right.
Unless the pit will tell
You're right.
you,
He called that on the radio.
yeah, he did. And it's
Mhm.
because, hey, he just pitted. Why is he so slow? Like,
He
so,
said-
come
he
on,
said,
get on it.
What is this Merc doing?
Yeah. Coming out of those pit stops, though, you see Russell in 5th place. Bono tell him, just keep your head down. We got this. You can make up you could at least make up to 2nd place because, obviously Bottas and then having to fight your way up. You see one of the greatest moves of the year. Yes or no?
Yes.
George
Absolutely.
Russell around, I want to say it was
Took two
turn one,
corners.
turn 2, I think it was around turn.
It was up the little squiggly part of the top of the track. the
The wiggles.
Yeah, where it looks like the chocolate frozen yogurt emoji. It was around
Pretty much
there. Yeah,
The part that's not a straight.
exactly.
He puts on probably one of the best moves we've seen all year and just ends up just blasting.
Sends it and just
blasting past Valtteri Bottas.
And Bottas had no
embarrasses him.
pace.
We will link to a tweet that we had sent out, just obviously just amazed at the move that Russell was able to put on. Obviously, we have to think of the fact that Russell was on newer mediums versus Bottas's older, colder hards. But dude, what a freaking maneuver from Russell. He is blasting past making his way up the field. He ends up getting into 2nd place when all hope is dashed.
Whoa.
Yep. You hear Bono come over the radio. You have a puncture. What was it? Rear right, I believe.
As
And-
Carlos Sainz would say,
Russell has to come in and pit, and thus robbing us of what would have been an amazing last
finish.
10 laps or so.
That would have been a fatality.
No, I think so, but not a fatality. Obviously, we don't want to joke around. But
No, but not on that aspect. I'm sorry. A Mortal Kombat fatality. My bad.
Life is not a video game, Ruben.
robbing us of a photo finish between Perez and Russell. What do you guys think would have happened there?
It would have been that, I think, photo finish, but Perez would have won.
You think Perez would have won?
No.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. George was going to win that.
I think George had the car. As much as Perez would have wanted it, as much as he would have had the elbows out.
George. And then
Experience.
George Russell. I'm sorry, bro. I was really impressed with George Russell this entire race.
Everybody.
I mean, and let's see what happened. But he would have won that race if he wouldn't have gotten that puncture.
We will see this weekend.
He was, I think, no more than 3 seconds behind Perez at that point. I think it was like 2-point-something seconds with about 6 laps left.
8 laps.
8 laps left. Plenty of time for that Mercedes down those straights. Plenty of time.
Dude, all I keep thinking about, what was it, Singapore last year or 2 years ago, where Perez couldn't get past Giovinazzi. He just slams into him. I feel like that's what would have happened. He would have just, in order to, hell no, I'm not giving up this first place, just would have wrecked him.
Nah, man, I think George was gonna win that race if that puncture hadn't happened.
He was lapping faster than Perez.
It was.
And
he got the fastest lap too.
And it was a piece of his Williams car that actually caused that puncture. Unfortunately,
It's funny how.
funny how things work.
Yeah.
Just when he thought he was out, they pulled him back in.
I told the guys, I said, I'm not rooting for anybody anymore, because anytime I root for anybody, they lose.
You're a curse.
Yeah, I guess so. Because this was the first time that I've ever rooted for a Mercedes, and this happens, and I'm highly upset about that because I thought George was gonna win that race, man.
Yeah, Russell at one point was lapping almost 2 seconds faster than Perez.
You trying to tell me he wasn't gonna catch up to him? Come on,
Dude.
bro. Seriously?
Yeah.
In a short track like that, full of straights, in a Mercedes, the way he was driving,
He was a man
boy.
on a mission.
Come
I'm
on.
looking at
He said, if you haven't noticed me yet, you better notice me now.
Sorry, I'm just trying to look at like a 50 lap 80, 55.4 for Russell, 57 flat for Sergio Perez.
Come
81,
on, bro.
56.4 for Russell, 57.1. So it was 7/10 there, but like dude was cooking, as they say. So that
Up
ends
into the
up,
flat.
yeah. Up until the flat. That flat paves the way for the most surprising podium that we've seen in quite some time. We had Sergio Perez,
You think so?
race winner,
Well,
Esteban
gosh.
Ocon, second place, and Lance Stroll in third place. So Sergio Perez, race winner, 190 races before his first race win. He's been racing since 2011,
10 years in the game.
crying during the
That was
cool down lap.
Yeah.
He I don't know. What do you guys have to say?
I mean, the two surprising podiums we had this year, I'm glad it happened to those guys.
Which guys?
Monza, Gasly, and Perez this weekend.
So the most surprising podium, I would still give it
To Monza.
to Monza. Yeah, AlphaTauri winning a race?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not gonna see that.
AlphaTauri,
Often.
McLaren, and Lance.
And we're
Lance
talking
Stroll third.
about the AlphaTauri is not the class of the field in the midfield. Maybe we did expect
The
Racing
McLaren
Point to be
up
this
there.
good.
The Racing Point to
Yeah.
be up there.
But we didn't expect the AlphaTauri to win a race.
So we asked this on Twitter at Jump to Start F1. Obviously, make sure to follow us, tweet at us. Which unexpected win this season was more emotional? 73% called it Gasly's win in Monza. 27% Perez win in Bahrain.
I would agree with that. Even though it's 1 and 1A, good for Checo. He deserved that win.
Yeah, let's not take away from it. I feel like I'm taking away from it already. But what if? I'm sorry. Go ahead. What a freaking win!
Yeah, and
Grande Checo.
dude, remember, he gets hit on the first lap,
Yeah, is last.
falls back to last place, and somehow comes back to finish that race in first place for his first win.
That's a Lewis Hamilton drive.
That's it's. My question is, I came out of this race as good as Checo was, and I had to remember, he came back from last, and but who drove better? Who was the better driver in this race? Was it Perez or was it Russell? I was impressed with George Russell, man, because in this race, you were able to see George Russell in different situations, leading the race at the start and just pulling off,
Taking the lead at the start.
in
a car that he couldn't remember what all the buttons meant.
Yeah,
He was still struggling with that during the race.
and then taking off and just bossing that race. He was in the lead by far, was going to win that race. Has to go through that pit stop mishap by Mercedes, which never happens to that team. That is the last
Except Germany.
team that you would think that something like that would happen to, and it happens. And he still manages to fly up the field and almost take the lead before he gets a puncture. And then on top of that, he falls back to like 13th or 14th place, and still manages, even after that, to get into 9th place and score his first F1 point.
He fell back to 14th place on lap 79 and finishes. He ended up finishing in 9th place with the fastest lap.
Every situation, not all situations, but any big situation that you can put a driver in, George Russell was in that situation and shined. Like Toto Wolff said it, a star was born tonight. That was such an impressive drive. Even though he was in a Merc, that was such an impressive drive. As opposed to, now you have Checo in the Racing Point, obviously a team on the move up, gets into an incident, no fault of his own, and somehow manages to overtake almost the entire field. Obviously, the pit stop strategy plays in his favor because they did it right, and he winds up being the first and holds first place. What's more impressive to you? What's more impressive to you, Ruben?
I'm biased a little because Checo. We've been to Mexico. We see the love they have from over there. So
see the love there. I just sent you guys the picture of their front page on every newspaper. How crazy is that? So,
how about you?
I'll give you the answer. Well, I'll give you what I think is my answer. Right? We see in this race the combination and the culmination of everything that Checo is. Right? He got hit, kept his head down, kept the veteran mentality.
The team helped him with that too.
Came out in softs, right? Fell down to last place, pitted during the VSC, onto mediums until lap 47, right? From lap 47 to lap 87, making the same hards work. That the Mr. Consistency, the what is traction control?
Yeah,
Checo, though saving his
built-in
tires, traction control. That's what we saw, and that's what won him that race. Any additional pit stop there, he loses.
Yeah.
Esteban Ocon, one pit stop. He would have been right there.
If you notice, I think in the last podcast we discussed the timings. The Stroll was pulling and stuff like that, how close they were. Look what the position he got. And I'm pretty sure if you go to his timings for this whole week, he was just one straight line with the timings and the saving of the tires. Not taking, besides the...
Who's that, Perez or Stroll?
No, Stroll. It's Stroll because these three guys that are on top, they've been doing consistent timing when it comes to their races where... Yeah, like they'll have like minor lockups. Like for example, Stroll had the big lockup to when Perez took him over.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm pretty sure if you look out throughout this whole weekend or this whole race, all three of these guys had like consistency in time where they did not have too much down or too much up. They were consistently pretty much at the same time in the whole lap.
Yeah, we actually posted the F1 by the numbers, race pace by mean, and Ruben is dead right. Freaking Lance Stroll's consistency from lap, let's say 48 through to the end of the race, just out of control. So that, I don't know. Those are my thoughts as far as Perez and Russell. Obviously, Russell did a great job. He had the penalty, and I'll call it the penalty of having to do 4 pit stops. yeah, exactly.
Come on, bro.
He should have been last.
Listen, we're talking about 2 championship drives on 2 drivers that are not champions, but you can see why they're so heralded. This race showed why Perez. It's a shame he doesn't have a seat next year, and he should be on the grid, and he'll definitely have a seat. If he doesn't have one next year, he'll definitely be on the grid for 2022. And you can see why George Russell is so hyped, and to not only come up last minute to a world championship team and perform like that was amazing as well. I mean, it's 1 and 1A, but to me, I was just thoroughly impressed with George Russell, but not taking anything away from Sergio Perez, man. He killed it this race and obviously deserved the win.
Well, George Russell did win the actual driver of the day, but let's put things into a little bit of perspective. We saw Perez, Stroll, Ocon, extremely, extremely consistent. They were obviously the top 3 finishers. All 3 of Ocon and Stroll only did 1 pit stop. Obviously, that helped. But George Russell, his top end lap time was, I believe it was 1.3 seconds faster than the next closest lap. That's the freaking pace. This guy was a madman out there. When they told him you were screwed up, it was lap 80 that was that insane lap. Lap 81, 83, 84, ridiculous laps as well. And that's, at some point your battery's got to run out, but he's just still...
He's flying. He impressed, man. He impressed.
Esteban Ocon, do we have anything to add as far... It was an incredibly consistent race as far as his lap timing. Again, go to our Instagram post at Jump to Start F1 and you'll see the absolute consistency from Ocon. 1 pit stop on lap 41. Started on mediums and went to hards. Just kind of managed his race.
I just find it crazy that so many things happen in this race that we're kind of overlooking how good Ocon drove this race.
Yeah.
And he got his first podium. Yeah. He got his, it's just these guys really drove well, but it's just wow. This race really just
We know Stroll sucks, but he started on used softs, and he did 42 laps on used softs.
Dude.
Is he starting not to suck for you, Ruben?
No, he still sucks.
Exactly. So
A lot of good drives, man, this weekend. A lot of good drives.
That would normally be like the story of the race. And that's like, I don't know, like not even something that Lance Stroll at one point, it was lap 46, he was 10th place and he was able to jump all the way up. It was a tire management.
Yeah. It's those are the type of thing I keep saying it. These are the type of things that if you do things the right way, especially
the wrong things the right way, right?
if you do things the right way, especially on a short track where you have a fast lap, certain things can fall your way and you can definitely take advantage of it. It's oval race, man. This is not an oval, but there was a lot of elements of oval racing in this.
Speaking of being able to take advantage of, I guess, stuff, Lance Stroll, 3rd place on the podium once again this season. What do we have to say about this, guys? Like, are we ready to relinquish our mantra of Lance Stroll kind of just sucks and he's a rich guy driving a very powerful car? This is his 2nd podium this season. I believe it's his 3rd overall.
It's his 3rd overall, yes.
But he's just consistently there.
I think he's not consistently there. I think that's what's wrong with him. I think it's just that he's in a good car. He's not a bad driver. He's not a great driver. He's kind of in the middle. But if he does what Checo has done throughout his career, is be consistent, then you're going to see the tide turning on opinion of what we think and what other people think of Lance Stroll.
Yeah.
He's obviously not here just based off of daddy's money, even though it is a factor. He has been successful before. He has shown flashes of being a good race car driver. I wouldn't say a great one, but he has been improving, and we'll see what happens next year. He's going to have now a 4-time world champion who is looking to rejuvenate his career at Aston Martin. We'll see how Lance Stroll holds up.
I think that the races that Stroll participates on that the incidents are not that, are working to his favor, not on him, he does well. I think that's pretty much what has happened in the races that he's been, because he shows that he has a good lap race, that he's able to maintain the timing on the laps. He just has to be away from the incidents.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see next year in what should be a better car once Aston Martin gets in there, gets that money in there.
Absolutely.
All right, so that's the top 3. What a strange top 3: Perez, Ocon, and Stroll. The Mercedes guys, that was kind of really the second story of the season or of the race. Russell, we've spent a lot of time on. Ready for prime time?
I think he is.
Yeah.
He'll show it again next weekend.
Bottas is in trouble, man.
No, I don't think Bottas is in trouble next year, but he will be. He will be soon.
Well, I mean, he's in that's what I'm talking about.
Bottas has a 1-year deal.
He has a 1-year deal. He's been signing 1-year deals because the Mercedes hasn't had any options as far as putting anybody better in the car. Now they do. With that performance by Russell,
better? Is it about better, or is it about somebody that's not going to ruffle Lewis's feathers like in 2016?
I think this is about that.
That could be it too.
And I think Russell would.
But we're talking about somebody who's not ruffling feathers, but can also be close to Lewis as far as giving him some kind of competition, and Bottas has done that. It's not. It hasn't.
That's why he's there, Yancy.
It's not Nico Rosberg competition, but it is.
But I think that's what Russell will bring.
It is Valtteri Bottas putting up a time and Lewis hustling that car to beat it by pretty close margins. It hasn't been a runaway as far as.
So we've talked about
qualifying Lewis.
We've talked
qualifying, but not in the race.
Well, in the race, if Lewis gets ahead, forget about it.
Yeah. We've talked about Nico Rosberg almost driving himself crazy in 2016. My opinion, obviously, that's because he wasn't the same driver level as Lewis Hamilton, obviously. Russell, I don't think would have to drive himself crazy. I think that he is talented enough that he's more talented than what Nico Rosberg was.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Yeah, because I think
All he needs to do is refine it.
Rosberg made it there. Rosberg showed signs of being a good driver from the beginning. Just like Russell, but I remember Rosberg didn't land on the Mercedes when the Mercedes was on top.
All right, so
Rosberg,
He was there from the beginning.
That's what I'm saying. Rosberg grew with the Mercedes car. Russell just landed on the great car and showed it.
I think is a good comparison. You can say that maybe Rosberg gradually became better, more like like what Checo has become. We would never put before Checo at this level that he is right now, but he's gradually gotten better.
Car too, yeah.
Yeah, and then no, I got you. It's the car, but it's just I'm talking about just driving skills. Forget about the car. Driving skills. Rosberg got better over time, just as Checo has. But then now you have, let's say, like a Sebastian Vettel, who's good right away, or a Leclerc who's good right away, or a Verstappen good right away, or even Lewis Hamilton. How can I forget that? Almost won the championship his first season. That talent level, that's where we're kind of putting George Russell, that he's good. We can put him in a top line car and be good right away. Remember, Checo was at McLaren. The car wasn't that good, but he still didn't impress much. And it took him years to go through the midfield in order for him to get to this level.
Well, when he was in Sauber, I'm not 100% sure, but he did a race at Sauber that he almost got in the podiums.
Oh, no, he's always been
so he's
that,
shown that once he has the utilities under him, he's able to.
But it's
be
also
at the top.
like Lance Stroll. He shows it, but he's not consistently there. Checo consistently the past few years has done that. Nico Rosberg was the same way. We're talking about somebody comparing it to the talent level where it's like you come in right away and you're competitive.
It's the car.
We're going to have to update our 10 best drivers on the grid standings as far as what I see. Midfield and Constructor Championship standings. So let's talk a little bit about the midfield, right? McLaren, dude, Lando on the first lap made up 9 places. Then he was just nowhere, right? Carlos Sainz was floating around the top, kind of like a, I don't know.
Cream?
Like cream? I was going to say like a turd.
Oh my God. Wow.
Carlos Sainz finished 4th. Lando finished 10th. And it was just like kind of that's all she wrote. Carlos Sainz got 12 points. Lando Norris 1 point. The story really is Sergio Perez winning 25 points. Lance Stroll, 3rd place, 15 points. That's 40 points. That kind of they overtook McLaren.
When we thought that race was over.
We thought McLaren was going to run away with it. And now...
A 1st and 3rd will get you up there.
Yeah, and now here we are. I'm going to run down the constructors. Racing Point, 194. McLaren, 184. Renault, 172. Renault, see you later. Enjoy 5th place. Yeah?
Yeah. They're not getting 1-3.
It's a shame because...
Not in Abu Dhabi. We have 1 race left, and that's not a track that suits them in Abu Dhabi.
We all sat here thinking, dude, Danny Ricciardo is going to carry that team. Esteban Ocon is pretty good. Just the Racing Point car being that much better kind of hurt them. What do we? I mean,
the Racing Point car is finally where it belongs. I think it is. You could say it's the 3rd best car in the grid.
Yeah, and remember they lost 15 points.
Yeah,
they
lost
15 points on the constructors.
I remember the criticism we gave them was that at the beginning of the season that they're not living up to the potential of that car. Definitely living up to that potential now.
By the way, that was this season.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
it seems like it was so long ago.
Yeah.
So what do we see?
The longest short season ever.
Do we think that McLaren will be able to overtake Racing Point?
No. I don't see it.
I don't see Lando as being consistent enough this year.
Yeah.
To be able to make it. Yeah, I don't know.
You know what?
Even though Sainz is
dropping
lights out, man.
I hope they do. Because this is Racing Point's second weekend.
Right now? It's
10 points.
This is Racing Point's second weekend having good weekends. Remember, last weekend they had the engine blowout.
They had the engine. So how is it their second weekend?
Meaning that throughout the race they were good and then just misfortunes again.
Okay,
So
all right, but Bahrain is a fast track. It kind of suits them.
So now we're going to Abu Dhabi. McLaren will perform better than Racing Point in Abu Dhabi. So they will get better points.
Who's telling you that?
I am. I'm saying it.
So I want to read out some stats here from
here we go.
our Twitter friend at the Colin Card. Actually, a New York-based Formula One fan. We should hit him up. Last points from the last 6 races: P1 Hamilton 127, P2 Perez 69, P3 Verstappen 61, 4 Sainz 56, 5 Ricciardo 49, Bottas 6 with 44, Leclerc with 41, 7th. Albon 8th with 28. I'm going to skip down. Norris P11 22. You can't. You can't. You
need 2 cars.
You have Leclerc ahead of you, Albon ahead of you, Gasly ahead of you, your own teammate ahead of you by 44 points. Damn. P13 Stroll 17 points the last 6 races. Remember, second is Perez with 69. Nice.
Well, it's what I'm saying, what I said before about Stroll, not consistent. But he seems to be on form these last few races. And you're right. I think Abu Dhabi does suit McLaren better, but that car is just faster. The Racing Point is just faster.
So you see Racing Point having, you could say, another weekend without consistency. We don't get that from them. Yeah, obviously, the Bahrain Grand Prix, and Checo's engine blew up, but they were having a pretty good race up to that point.
Mm-hmm.
So do you see them having another weekend? No. They can't do it.
So you're saying McLaren wins?
McLaren's going to overtake them this weekend.
So, all right.
That's tough.
But they still got to get 10 points to tie and go over them. So it'll be tough to, jump over the hurdle.
You don't think that they tell Stroll, yo, chill the hell out.
Nah.
Don't dive bomb anybody. Stay away from everybody.
No, I think that's what he's been doing. That's the reason why he's
McLaren will have a better weekend this weekend.
This weekend coming up, they'll have a better weekend, but I don't think. But now that I'm actually doing the math, they won't be able to overtake the lead already.
Racing Point.
When you think about where Lando Norris has been finishing, 8, 9, 10. Dude, that's what, 1, 2, 4 points. That's not going to get you enough. That's not going to get you there.
That's pretty much where I landed now on my second. I landed there myself.
So, all right. So, drivers championship. Sergio Perez 4th with 125. Daniel Ricciardo 5th with 112. Sergio Perez, right?
Yeah.
For sure.
Leclerc 6th with 98. Carlos Sainz 7th with 97. And Albon.
Sergio Perez is missing consistency. I don't see how he can lose that lead.
Yeah, I don't see it either.
That's 13 points.
If he's not 4th, yeah, it's 13 points. He would have to DNF for that.
It's 13 points, and we're talking about in the midfield, and that's a big. If you're talking about 2 or 3 races left, yeah, but it's only 1 race.
In the midfield, the points math drop.
Yeah,
it's
not. I mean, unless Ricciardo gets like a podium or something.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right, because 3rd is 15.
But this track, Abu Dhabi, is definitely a track that it does not suit Renault at all.
We shall see, guys. I messed up on my outline. We mentioned the Mercedes boys, but we didn't talk about Valtteri Bottas. And I remembered going through the stats here.
He's in trouble.
He's in trouble, or even the bad luck. It doesn't cover up his performances, right?
No, because Bottas falls into his bad luck. If he gets his race start correct, which he had no reason not to, then I don't see him going through all the problems that he did.
Absolutely right.
To seal
you nailed it right there.
In the points, he needed at least to finish 3rd in this past weekend, because he needed at least 15 points to seal
2nd place.
Yes,
he didn't seal it.
Of course not.
He didn't seal it, and the person that he's fighting,
he got lucky.
DNF'd.
He got lucky.
So come on.
So right now, Bottas is 16 points ahead in 2nd place, 205 to 189 Max Verstappen. Do we see? Essentially, Bottas would have to DNF. Max Verstappen would have to win fastest lap, and then
it's not gonna happen. I mean, Bottas has second place. It's just locked in. It's
what is
just
it, 5th place.
Huh?
If Max wins and gets fastest lap, Bottas would have to get 5th or lower. I think
it could happen.
It could. Man, that would be nuts.
I don't think so.
Yeah, because Max would not have the tiebreaker. He has not won more races than Bottas, so he has to finish. Bottas has to finish 6th.
Just remember that the Max does have a win, but it was because Mercedes had tire trouble at Silverstone. That's.
Yeah, you have a good freaking memory, dude.
Yeah, I did not remember that.
That was so long ago. That was.
And then anytime Max has finished second, is way behind the Mercs.
The tire trouble
didn't
thing.
happen.
It was
The
the
day of the
70th
blowouts?
anniversary. Yeah, the 70th anniversary GP.
Max didn't get first place that time.
The second race he did.
The second race he did. Yes.
Yeah.
You're right. Damn, that was what a great season, man. Holy crap.
It was the shortest, longest.
Yeah. All right. Thoughts on the new guys? Aitken, Fittipaldi? Whatever. Need to see more, right?
Yeah,
it was too much of an action-packed race.
We need to see more. It was obviously Aitken didn't he
help himself.
He didn't help himself, but obviously it's his first race. And Fittipaldi is in a Haas, man.
So Aitken before this weekend was what? Just a reserve driver for him.
He was a reserve driver for Williams, and he
can't do much.
Before he was a development driver for Renault.
Okay, so I'm gonna just breeze through something since we're running a little long. What do you guys think? Mick Schumacher and Nikita Mazepin up in the. Maybe we could talk about it later in our next season, our next episode. But any quick thoughts
on the
Haas signing?
On the Haas finally getting both of the drivers signed.
Yeah,
new drivers.
Interesting choice on 2 rookie drivers.
Interesting they didn't go with Checo, or maybe he didn't want to go there.
Yeah, I mean that car does not look like it's going to be improving much next season. And
go Ferrari
and hater, and obviously, they didn't want to pay. I think Haas doesn't want to pay their drivers a lot of money. They're looking for a pay driver that doesn't cost them that much. And Nikita Mazepin is probably the perfect driver for them. And obviously with their ties to Ferrari, F2 champion Schumacher, that's going to bring a lot of publicity. Why wouldn't you bring him up?
So elaborate on that for me. When you said that they're looking for a paid driver that doesn't cost them a lot of money. So pretty much the money that the driver brings in, the driver is taking it. They don't want to take it as a salary.
The driver pays himself.
That's what Perez does.
No, I mean, but the team has to pay him also. I mean, there's only so much sponsorship money that you can bring in.
Who brings more than Perez?
But Perez doesn't want to race there. That's also the thing. Like nobody, a driver of Perez's caliber at this point is not going to drive for a back marker.
Yeah. He
said it. I'm either sitting out. I'm either driving for Red Bull next season or I'm sitting out. I'm sure there's going to be opportunities for 2022.
So here's what I'll say, right? Whatever. Mick Schumacher, it was coming. Obviously, the name, the history. He won the F2 championship this weekend, so whatever. Nikita Mazepin, I think that it is the continuation of, in Formula One, this trend that we've had and we've seen so far of placing short-term gains over the long-term improvement of the sport. Why do I say that, right? We have more money coming in. Obviously, you need to survive and you need to, as a business, you need the money coming in, and his dad is a billionaire, just like Lance Stroll's dad. Nikita Mazepin is not better than Callum Ilott, and I want to remind everybody, Ferrari driver Callum Ilott, he gave him a black eye after Callum Ilott got in his way during practice. It wasn't even a
F3. Yeah.
Yep, it wasn't even a race or qualifying. He slammed the P2 board, which nearly hit Yuki Tsunoda. Insinuated that George Russell should come out on an Instagram story or an Instagram live, whatever that he was doing, even though George Russell has a girlfriend. He has talked down to women, asking them for nudes in exchange for a paddock pass.
Oh my God.
He threw a party when 9 mine workers were killed at a fire in Eurochem, in his dad's mine. He had a party, I think that was the same day. He actually posted a Instagram story, 1 year since the guy in Wuhan ate a bat. Happy birthday, COVID. Very insensitive, considering that even here in America, here in America, we've lost a ton of people, but all over the world, this has just been a disaster. And even this past weekend in the F2 race, just dangerous driving. I think that it's going to be, how do I say this? The stuff always washes out, right? Even though you have a ton of money, it's the short-sightedness. You want to make your sport better overall. Where would we be if George Russell wasn't in because some pay driver was able to, if Nicholas Latifi was able to pay up and get into the Mercedes drive somehow, whatever, we would not have been as excited because the talent always wins out. What if Charles Leclerc would not have won out? What if, whatever, Max Verstappen, whoever, like the next most talented guy, I don't know. I feel a certain type of way. Obviously, you hear it in my voice. You see the examples I brought up.
Well, Checo said that the fact that he does not have a drive next season just goes to show you that necessarily you don't have the best drivers in F1 at the time. And it's because of what, you just went through. It's
Mazepin.
Not
Latifi,
Mazepin, but it's
Albon.
it's just
Chirac and
no,
Russell.
not even Albon. I'm just talking about. Well, it is because the money is prioritized over the talent. And,
It's a business, man.
Yeah, and
Unfortunately.
obviously, I didn't know a lot of that stuff
Me
about
either.
Nikita Mazepin.
So we're getting a Mazepin's a spoiled brat.
Yeah, and
in the worst kind.
Of course.
And I'm thinking about like Haas has a history of
Antonio Ferrucci
Santino
was
Ferrucci was the
Santino,
same
yeah.
way. American driver from Connecticut. He drives an IndyCar.
Dad's
now.
a billionaire as well.
Yeah, super loaded. But it's I don't know. It's always been a part of the sport. But when we watch F1, we want to see the best drivers go toe to toe, and that's not happening. And now we have. After this season, if Checo doesn't get a drive, we're going to have 2 drivers, I think, that deserve to be on the grid that are not on the grid, being Checo and Nico Hülkenberg.
Right. We
I
had
agree with you then.
Sorokin, you mentioned. That's another, it just washed out. We see every weekend, we see Mr. Saturday, George Russell, in literally the worst car. Everybody's excited. Everybody's hyped. Oh, is he going to get a point this? Where's the talk for Nicholas Latifi?
What's the name of that guy that he's on India as well?
Ericsson.
Ericsson. He had a lot of money.
He had a lot of
money
sponsorships.
too,
Yeah. But those are my thoughts. We could elaborate next week. I'm sorry for dropping the bombs that I did, but whatever. Again, just obviously you want long-term thinking, but obviously you just need the money, especially after a year like this one.
Yeah.
Poor Haas.
So, gentlemen, Abu Dhabi Grand Prix preview.
Yay!
Yeah. Ruben, hit us off with a little bit of history.
There's not much history.
Yeah.
Well, the track first came on the scene at during Abu Dhabi, had like an F1 weekend or something like that, and that's when they announced it. That was back in 2007. It was like such a huge event. Like they brought a bunch of. It was like the
Was
biggest.
that when Ferrari World Open?
I don't know.
Okay, sorry.
It was a week. It was supposedly the
They had a
biggest
showcase, right?
Yeah, it was like a showcase. It was the biggest weekend F1 ever had where there was not a Grand Prix involved.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that was back in 2007, and that's when they announced the official launch, all that stuff like that. It made it to the calendar in 2009 first.
Wow.
And it's the first ever day-night race where it starts like at 5 p.m. and all the floodlights are already turned on. So the transition into night is not that much noticeable. It's located in Yas Island, which is hence the name Yas Marina Circuit.
I went there.
Oh, yeah, you did. So why am I talking about the history when you walk the track?
Yeah.
Most wins by the driver is Lewis Hamilton. Most win by constructors is Mercedes with 6, followed by Red Bull with 3. Then the most win by manufacturers 7 for Mercedes, followed by Renault has 4. I'm going to say now something that Wellington's been saying for the past couple of weeks that I actually wrote it down this weekend. The circuit length is 3.451 miles. The number of laps is 55. Sorry, Walls. And
Stole my thunder.
yeah, last pole position was by Lewis Hamilton. Fastest lap record is also held by Lewis Hamilton. And the last podium, which is last year, was Ham, Max, and Charles. I know you got something on the track, Walls.
No, that's it.
Sorry,
You covered it all. I knew you would do that.
Eventually.
One thing that's cool is that stupid little hotel that's at the top of it. That's like an orb that changes lights.
The whale.
Changes the color.
W Hotel, they call it the whale.
The whale. It's
That's
super
all
cool.
LEDs, by the way. That's up. How is that inside, Walls? Did you get to eat there?
I did not get to eat there. They don't like riffraff like me. No, I'm kidding.
The first time Wellington drove a Ferrari was there. He got on the Ferrari roller coaster at Ferrari World.
I didn't drive it. I wish I drove that thing. I would have just
Well,
pressed
somebody,
one
he
button.
was a passenger. There you
Yeah.
go. He was a passenger in a Ferrari.
Yeah, just like Sebastian Vettel this year.
The prancing horse.
Recent history: 2019, Hamilton won, Verstappen second, and Leclerc third. Which is actually interesting because that was after the engine scandal.
I just said that too.
He
Sorry.
did say that, yeah.
Lewis Hamilton, Vettel, Verstappen in 2018, 2017, Valtteri Bottas, Lewis Hamilton, and Sebastian Vettel, and 2016, Lewis Hamilton, Nico Rosberg, and Sebastian Vettel. 2016, obviously, being when Rosberg.
How about 2015?
2015, I didn't put down here.
That was Rosberg won that one though.
Dude.
You love Rosberg, don't you?
No, it was just because I remember the momentum that he got because he won like the last
Yeah, you're right. Because he won going into 2016. Gentlemen, our favorite topic of discussion here.
God.
What does this track look like? Yancy, I will invite you. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do something different. We posted this question on Twitter at Jump to Start F1. Again, we had a couple people. Respond. The Brothers Hunt at Hunt Brothers F1 responded, said it looked like a mistake.
Jeez.
I think
Considering the race history of this track, meaning that the races here are boring. They're not very good. And it has been considered one of Herman Tilke's worst tracks. Yeah, I think the guy's
Why?
spot on. Huh?
Why?
I don't know. It's just because it's you got one straight and the rest are just like got a lot of 90. It looks like a lot of 90-degree corners or close to 90-degree corners, which we all hate.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's just it doesn't lend to good racing usually.
Another Twitter follower, Eduardo Moreno at EDU Moren MOREN UM07 called it a poop emoji. Let's leave it at that. A piece
That
of,
one?
Yes, a piece of poop emoji.
No. Now, if you put that one,
No. He didn't say it looked like it. He just said that it is a piece of poop emoji.
Okay, yeah, or chocolate frozen yogurt, as I like to say.
And then our other friends over at In the Gravel Trap at Trapped in Gravel said that to him it looked like a nightmare to draw when he does his Sunday evening disaster of a race review, or Sunday evening a disaster when he does his race review. So obviously check out our friends at Trapped in Gravel. Yancy, what do you think it looks like?
It looks like a to me, it looks like one of those old school Western revolvers in a holster.
I would say,
Especially
if you look at this one.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
turn it
When you
over.
look at the Pirelli C2, C3, C4 graphic.
That's what it looks
Ruben,
like.
what do you got, man?
obviously, you could say water gun, revolver,
Yeah.
bottle opener. I think.
You stole my answer, man.
Oh, my bad. I think it looks. When you go to the metal scrap yard, they have like that. I guess that crane that just grabs
Yeah.
the metal by the bunch. You could say that a little bit. I don't know the name of the attachment.
The big magnet?
No, not the
No,
magnet.
no,
The magnet's flat.
It's like a grapple almost.
like- Yeah.
Oh,
I forget exactly
okay.
what
So
the
you will say that.
attachment
It
is.
The
was
claw.
There you go. Like
Like a claw. I think it looks like a alien ray gun, like the ones that you find in like Halo.
What the hell is that?
Dude.
Halo the game, come on,
Yeah,
like a ray gun.
you-
Or
you're playing too much
obviously
Xbox.
number one, it looks like a bottle opener.
That
Predictions.
looks more like a bottle
yeah.
opener
Again, it-
than I think you said Silverstone looked like a bottle
Yeah,
opener.
I think I said all of them look like a bottle opener. Predictions. Let's assume that Hamilton does not come back.
He's not coming back.
I am putting Bottas first, Russell second, Max Verstappen third, Sergio Perez fourth, thus clinching the position and the constructors for Racing Point.
Who will you put fifth?
Fifth, I'll put Carlos Sainz.
We're
I'll
assuming
go.
that Hamilton's not coming back.
Assume Hamilton's
go.
not coming back.
I'll do it. I would say George Russell, Bottas, Max,
I
Perez,
wanted to say that.
Perez, and for fifth, I was going to say Sainz as well. Because Ricardo's not going nowhere this weekend. Renault is not doing anything this weekend. Who else would you put? Norris? Come on.
No, he hasn't been.
He's too far
showing.
back.
Stroll? I don't know.
I'm gonna put Russell, Verstappen, Bottas.
Perez?
No.
Dude, Perez has been driving so lights out. It's hard.
Sainz fourth, Perez fifth.
Okay.
Sainz is driving really good, man. And
Okay, people. 1 hour, 30 minutes. Let's wrap it up. We'll talk to you guys after the race. See you later,
Take
Carlos
care.
Sainz.